Alright, making a short video from a very lazy perspective, so I don't have to keep typing things over and over again. If you're watching this, it's most likely because you're an idiot and an NPC, or you know someone who is an idiot and an NPC. Why? I'm going to explain, because apparently I have to. Anyways, the current slander that I'm aware of going about the attacks, calling Joe Biden a pedophile, which is funny because Trump was the friend of Epstein. The last person seeing him alive was reported to be Barr. Lev Parnas was afraid that Barr would kill him in jail to silence him, and, or as Lev put it, Epstein me. And so he came forward to the press to make sure that his story was revealed. And as we've seen from the Trump administration, they like to block and do everything they can to obstruct any effort or any chance of anybody finding out anything negative about him. So the last person to see Epstein alive was Barr in a visitation. Then the cops or guards left the door open and turned their back for a little bit, and the next thing you know, Epstein's dead. And now we got a bunch of right-wing nut jobs or cocksuckers that basically tried to accuse Hillary of killing him with the death squads, and then a bunch of brain dead morons saying that it was a cover up. Epstein didn't really kill himself, even though we already know that he didn't kill himself. The autopsy came out and clearly showed that he was beaten to death. And yeah, and then during that time, the Trump administration tried to do an investigation to Hillary to try and orchestrate this political hit job and witch hunt that it was Hillary's death squads, which led nowhere. And I'd love to see anybody provide me any evidence to the contrary, but that just goes to show how much they'll try to deflect and deny their guilt on things. This is all very important because they're trying to say that Biden is a pedophile, but Trump is a friend of Epstein, and some of Epstein's girls already came forward saying that Trump Trump with the aid of Epstein did have relations with minors, and that was basically silenced because right-wing media like to catch and kill, much like they did with the Stormy Daniels story, and it basically got silenced pretty quickly. And given the daily routine of scandals and outrageous, severe, and simply extreme slander and lies and of the Trump administration, news moves pretty fast, and they have to cover the uh, next distraction, which is essentially like shooting your foot or shooting your nose to spite your face, kind of thing, or taking off your foot after you've shot it, and then taking off your leg and then your thigh, just because you want people to stop noticing that some limbs missing. It's like you're just making it worse, man. You're just making it worse. But then they're basically saying that Hillary ran the campaign on the woman card, which is inherently false if anybody actually paid attention to Hillary's campaign. But given that Trump basically ran on the whole thing as I'm gonna make us great again, and I'm rich, I'm really rich. He's basically trying to buy people's votes and lie to them about making America rich again, which he hasn't. He's put a huge deficit with his tax bills. Let's not forget that he promised that it would be for the middle class and lied, and he's making the promise now that he would he was going to make a tax bill strictly for the middle class and the poor, which we all know is a lie as well, given his history. And let's see, The wall turned out to be a sham. They already found tunnels underneath it, which shocker, modern day, people make tunnels already shown to be ineffective. Congratulations, you brain lit dumbasses. Oh, good job on infrastructure too. I saw that. Big gust of wind blew it over. I'm glad you guys are willing to waste taxpayer dollars on a wall, but refuse to do anything about, let's say, Trump's annulment violations. I'm aware. I listened to the whole thing where they say about Biden and Burisma, saying that him and his son tried to make money off of his time in office, even though the time in which apparently he got paid any money was in 2017, not 2016. So, not to mention the whole, getting rid of I think it was an investigator, a prosecutor. Anyways, a guy who refused to investigate corruption, and the Republican Party is saying that Biden got rid of a guy because they wanted to do what? Getting rid of this guy actually made it more likely that Burisma would be investigated for corruption. They wanted that guy in place to protect them. So the whole he's just doing it for his son, I'd have to wonder how exactly did it protect his son? Fucking dumbasses. But it's always nice to know you guys are willing to break policy just to meddle in an election. Isn't it a felony to interfere in an election? Comey interfered in the last election, claiming or talking about the Benghazi investigations, but didn't mention the Trump investigations. And karma is fun. Yes. Yeah. And then currently, Trump is bragging about how happy he is he fired Comey, because then if he didn't, he would have been impeached, which is essentially bragging about obstructing justice. And from what we've seen, Barr is more than willing to lie and meddle. He's currently he put out an order to the FBI claiming no investigations into any candidate without his express permission, which is essentially saying, from what we can tell, you're only allowed to investigate Democrats, not Republicans, for the simple sake, as the Republicans say, and as the Republican defender said, Trump is allowed to break all laws, kill people, and interfere in the election, or try to get any interference into election so long as he thinks it'll help him win. The Republicans have shown a tradition of obstructing our election process. Even the Republicans, even Trump's own candidate or candidacy staffers recognizes. But anyways, Trump bragged about obstructing the investigation, and currently Republicans have already expressly acknowledged that they believe that Trump did break the law, and the only reason they didn't impeach him was one, Mitch McConnell said he was working with the Trump team. David Nunes was pointed as one of the people involved in the Ukraine scandal. And let's see here. One of the Congress ladies came forward and said that she refused to vote on impeachment because she felt that he learned his lesson and wouldn't do it again, even though Trump is currently bragging about how he's been exonerated and shit, and basically saying, like, ha 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 ha, I got away with it. You fucking morons. Isn't it a felony to violate your oath of office? Because that's exactly what they did. This lady admits that she was not impartial, that she voted on him, voted to keep him in office, knowing he was guilty. And then we also have Mitch McConnell, who was basically saying he would not be impartial. And we have David Nunes, of course. I'm sure there's more on the other Republicans. But from what we can basically say, the do-nothing Republicans have basically held up to their partisanship. And they're basically just lying about everything. Right? I saw the State of the Union. Trump says he's all for, stable, fair ISP access, which we can currently see is a lie, considering he pushed to repeal net neutrality. And he says he's all for protecting pre-existing conditions, which we can see mm, is a straight up lie, given that he mm, fought to repeal Obamacare because he said that protecting pre-existing conditions was unconstitutional. When it comes to making a case in any type of system, you don't say something is unlawful. You don't say something is unconstitutional. You present your case, and it is up to the question of whether or not it meets that standard. I'm aware a bunch of brain dead morons basically can't understand, like, hey, someone can say they're unbiased but still be biased. I mean, these people, Republicans, they said that they would be impartial, but they also say that Trump can't be impeached because he felt that breaking the law was important. Like I have to ask these people, and I was asking some Republicans earlier, some nut jobs, Republican nut jobs earlier, that how is it exactly? Explain this to me in the comment section. Explain this. How does impeaching Trump overturn an election? I mean, we're aware they wanted to eagerly impeach Hillary by doing the Benghazi investigation multiple times. So, isn't that mean that they are also guilty of trying to overturn an election? They basically are guilty of interfering in an election to overturn the results because they knew Hillary was going to win. So instead, they cooked up this investigation to make her lose. That's actually a confession of some of the Republicans. They said openly that that's exactly what they did. And then there's also the issue of Comey not mentioning things and mentioning only what would help Trump get more votes and such. And let's see. When are they going to admit that Hillary was exonerated for the charges? I hear them still saying that she's a crook, and I hear people saying that he's that she is uh criminal and such, but none of her people have gone to jail. Trump's people have gone to jail. I'd like to understand when people are going to acknowledge that. They say that Schiff is and the whistleblower are going to be proven wrong, but none of the Republicans actually say that Schiff was wrong. They don't argue the substance. They say that they weren't asked whether or not he committed a crime, which is dumb because that's exactly what they were asked to give a verdict on. They basically say that them that the like let's let's just skip ahead to the fact that they were just lying about everything. Okay, first they talk about how the Democrats are doing the impeachment under a false premise, and that the whistleblower shouldn't have been enough. But then the whistleblower's statements were proven right with the witnesses and testimonies of the people, the Democrats in the House, uh, interviewed and questioned. And then we got the whole issue of they say that the it was based off the off a false premise, like it was wrong, but it was proven right. So then they say that it was being done in secret, and then the Democrats started doing it publicly, but then they started saying that they shouldn't do it publicly after saying that they should do it publicly, and then they were saying that throughout the entire proceedings of the Democrats' inquiry, they were saying that no case was made. It was a sham. It was just because people were being partisan, and there was a perfect phone call. But at the same time, they refuse to listen to the transcripts. They refuse to listen to any type of intelligence whatsoever. And they refuse to even acknowledge the fact that the Russians were already proven to have interfered in our election. And even the Democrats themselves, like CrowdStrike, they say is a Ukraine company, but the Republicans know very well it's an American company. So they're just lying over and over and over again. They say that the people voted for Trump. Trump lost the popular vote by 3 million, and I know you anti-American, anti-republic Republicans. They basically like Republic is supposed to be representative, Democratic being like people vote. I don't know, Democratic Republic, uh, you know, and but they basically say like no, us, just us, the Republicans are the only ones allowed to be in charge. Trump brags about obstructing justice, obstructing the investigation, and then we got Republicans lying about how he cooperated because they want to make him look good. Like one of the big arguments that I hear is that you're just trying to cover for the Dems, but the fact of the matter is, um, you guys are just trying to cover for the Republicans. I mean, some guy argued with me that the Republicans didn't have any authority whether or not there was witnesses or evidence, even though they put it to a vote and refused to accept any witnesses or evidence, and they refused to read the documents or even listen to. They did everything they could to try and restrict things down, and they, yeah, it's like every single impeachment proceeding beforehand had evidence and witnesses. The Republicans refused to have it this time. And even without it, they were forced to concede that Trump was a criminal. So, from what we can tell, is that the Democrats made a solid case to a point where they were forced to accept because of their heavy bias. They vote to keep him in office anyways because he is a Republican and they refuse to go against their fellow Republican. Essentially, they are enemies of the state who are supporting a foreign agent, the Trump administration, and they are aiding and abetting a known traitor of the United States who committed a crime against the United States, which is by withholding pre approved uh, money that was agreed to be spent to fight corruption by the Republicans and the Democrats together. It appears that the divisiveness of the Trump administration has completely dissolved that bipartisanship that allowed that money to go to the Ukrainians, which is funny because he's always saying he's been done more for the Ukrainians than anyone else, but goes to say no, he hasn't. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Okay, I'm sorry. You either eat it or you have it. You can't have both. So, from what we can tell, the Republicans they say, like, hey, you just want to fight corruption. Well, the big question is, how much corruption is investigated on a day to day basis without a fucking public announcement? Seriously. Uh, I'd love to see, like, cops go in front of a fucking press meeting every fucking time they want to do an investigation to somebody, like, this person that's like, no, the media only reports on big cases, which the Trump administration should be a huge fucking case. But this Fuhrer, Palpatine, it's basically the Republicans are trying to say that he was exonerated, and such that they didn't present a case and whatnot. But the fact of the matter remains is that they were refusing to acknowledge him as guilty. They had their prejudices, and they refused to be unbiased long before the papers were sent to the Senate for impeachment trials. And the arguments that they made during the impeachment trials was absolutely fucking ridiculous. So, because the Senate offered to trade the testimony of Bolton for Hunter Biden, which basically shows that they can accept it, but instead they just wanted to slander the Bidens because they saw him as a threat. Honestly, Biden is not a threat. He is only popular because of Obama. Warren and Bernie, I think, are the best. Well, no. Warren, I think, is better than Bernie. Warren has a long, outstanding history of fighting corruption. Bernie has a lot of good ideas, I suppose. He promotes himself very well, but he's become a useful idiot of the right. Mainly because I've noticed a lot of Trump trolls. They say, like, Bernie's a good guy, Bernie's a good guy, but Pete Buttigieg isn't gay enough. Or it's dumb. I feel like I'm getting brain cancer having to listen to these conversations with idiots. I had to listen to people debate on the process of the election like they have any say on the matter. I don't care whether or not they understand the process, and I don't give a shit whether or not that they want to predict who it is that wins or loses. I go to the media, I look at their predictions, and it's like, oh, that looks good, that looks good. I don't care, really. It's like, the only thing that matters is the Republicans say that they want to leave it up to the people, but the people voted for Hillary, not Trump. They voted for Hillary 3 million over, and the Republicans still tried to. They did a whole voter fraud investigation, which found nothing, and Trump tried to bury it. And, yeah. So, it's. It's just one obstruction and one lie after another with these Republicans. And people are going to do the whole, both sides thing. I have to say, um, you're going to have to give me some substance on that. Because I haven't seen any example that's comparable. Bill Clinton lied about an affair. So that's an offense against his wife. That's not an offense against the state. But because he broke his oath of office, they impeached him anyways. And the only oath of office was to not lie about the affair. So Trump lies all the time about executive privilege and national security. When is he going to be held accountable? People on Trump's team, they lie all the time. The Senate, they broke their oath of office. They should be impeached or jailed. And, yeah. That's the gist of it.